Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is Ethan Skinner.
My name's Jody Kite.
I'm Brady Davis.
I'm James McCarthy.
Gentlemen, we are gathered here again for the
To join
We
the
are
living
gathered
and the
here
dead.
today
I should have expected
in
that.
podcast
that
matrimony.
we see these four individuals.
No, I'm not polyamorous, sir. Nor do I swing that way.
Speaking
Threw 'em all off.
I ain't got nobody. Y'all should walk down the aisle to Scatman.
That would be my favorite wedding ever.
Yeah, that'd be 100%. Too bad Bianca isn't here to comment.
Or
We can
the,
say anything.
Or the Six Flags song, Ethan dancing, doing the
Bang
dance.
the bus. Quick, make me the DJ. Just kidding. It's gonna be Sandstorm. It's gonna be nothing but Sandstorm.
If only there was a voice to object to all of this.
First dance, Sandstorm.
We could just like knock out the DJ and
Yeah,
Just
father,
take over
Father
everything.
bride dance, Sandstorm.
when everybody's
Groom mother dance, Sandstorm.
when everybody's doing the toasts and all that, we just knock out the DJ and then it comes to the first song. And
There's
Yeah.
another $1,000 wasted. Bam!
Yeah.
Jay just pops up from behind the DJ booth.
Like no, and it looks like I'm levitating, and I'll be like,
And then he just comes.
You have fog just over all the equipment. Holy shit, this
and that's
wedding's about
that's
to be
just me
amazing.
doing that.
Bianca, can we make requests? We have a few.
may not want to approach DJ over there.
Oh, I'm approaching the DJ.
No, the DJ is named DJ.
That just seems cheap.
DJ?
So D-E-E-J-A-Y.
Is he a Street Fighter character? D-E-E.
Yeah, that's DJ from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
He's not a big fan of. I think I might get a.
Do I have to break out like a white gi and black belt and have
I
to
think-
throw Hadokens at this guy?
He's not a big fan of what?
He's not a big fan of people approaching him.
Oh, you're getting approached, bro.
Oh man.
We're not people. We're travelers on the omnibus.
Yeah.
It's a
Hey, field
totally
trip through
different
nerd and
thing.
pop
Dude, we're
Yeah.
the most extroverted nerds
Yeah.
anybody's
Yeah.
ever seen before.
We know the groom and the bride, so I think we should get some special treatment.
Yeah, yeah.
I want
close
to play that
friends with
funky
them.
music, white boy, right now.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh, this is gonna be the best wedding
Love
ever.
stinks.
Funky Town. Chicken dance.
And of course,
Pretty fly for a white guy.
And of course, my favorite song, which was actually, I went to a wedding and this was their wedding dance, Freebird.
Oh,
If I leave here tomorrow, will you still remember me? Because I must be traveling on now. Yeah, that's a great thing to
That's
have
a
in your
good-
wife in your
that's a good wedding
just now
song.
wife's ears.
Yeah.
God.
and it's not a good song to dance to either.
No.
For that matter.
Nobody dances to Freebird. What the
No. When it got to the fun part, everybody just crashed the middle except me, and I was like, "What the fuck am I doing here?"
That is the only acceptable
I've
way
never
of
been at a
dancing.
wedding where they celebrated the future divorce that fucking quickly. Holy shit!
Oh god.
It has layers. That could be like the death of one of them. It doesn't have to
Oh yeah, it
necessarily
could be one of them dying. That's
it doesn't
exactly what you want to know.
necessarily- It doesn't have
Either way, you don't want to hear it
Let me-
as you're.
Hey, James McCarthy, fun fact. If you're already thinking about the death of your spouse as you're saying death to us part, there's a problem in the relationship. Get the fuck away.
Now what they should have done was dance to Candle in the Wind, because there's nothing untowards about that at a
No,
wedding.
both versions.
Yeah.
God. Brady, what have you been doing?
Okay, I haven't been doing very much. I watched a kind of classic horror movie that I probably should have watched a while before. I watched the original Wicker Man.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I knew about the Wicker Man. I know a lot. I know a lot of the scenes just through cultural osmosis and just seeing them here and there. But I've never watched the entire movie, and yeah, it holds up pretty well. It's kind of a musical. Like there is always somebody singing something. It just doesn't like they're just not singing like their feelings or what they're thinking like a musical normally does. But there's a lot. I was surprised by how much music there is in the movie, and just the way that they do all these like little plants and payoffs are really really smart. And it just kind of shows how really fucking dumb the remake was. Like,
oh yeah.
like they took all of that and just threw it out the
Yeah, we don't need
window.
we don't need any of this. There's only like for me,
But the bees, Brady,
yeah, the
they're in
bee.
his eyes.
for me going back to it not super long ago, the only thing that kind of like meanders for a minute is when he's like wandering around during the festivities as they're starting, and that seems to kind of go a little too long.
Yeah.
But it's a 1972 or 1973 movie.
Yeah, for a lot of movies around that time are kind of slow, but that one it doesn't feel quite as slow. Although I wasn't like I was doing something else through some parts of it.
Right.
I was playing a little Marvel Champions while I was watching some of it. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a pretty good movie, even if you know like the twists and the outcomes and
Yeah.
everything. Just like everybody does a really good job in the movie.
It's like a seminal movie in like folk horror.
Yeah, and it's very interesting talking about the the kind of more common religions versus like paganism and stuff like that. It's a really interesting look at like just like hey, and you can tell watching it, you can tell that like Ari Aster took a lot of this from a lot of that from Midsummer.
100%, yeah.
Just the way that like this is a completely different culture.
It's also all the daytime too.
Yeah, it's
For
all
the most
it's all
part.
in the daytime.
Yeah.
There's very little night stuff.
People just kind of act weird, like
Yeah.
slightly. It's very subtle.
Yeah, they use kind of like the Dutch angles and some fisheye lenses to just make you feel as uncomfortable as the lead character does.
Right.
Yeah, about the only thing that comes in that happens at night is he just gets racked with lustful temptation.
Yeah.
With this.
There's a woman on the other side of the wall, like
yeah.
just slithering all
Yeah.
over the place.
And she does a musical number.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool. And of course, the late great Christopher Lee does a really great job as Lord Summerall, the lead guy. I can't remember his name. He's not a super
I always
well-known,
like,
but he's-
Edward Woodward.
yeah.
I think he's like a British character
Yeah.
actor. I would see his picture every once in a while before on the cover of the VHS tape or whatever before I actually broke down and rented it many moons ago, and always just kept misremembering him as Michael Caine because he just has that stoic British look to him.
Yeah, he does a really good job of showing that, like, he really cares about doing his job, but he also has this like self-righteousness about him that is very easy to see. But yeah, it's a really really good movie. If you
I
haven't
really like
watched
it a lot.
Trivia on IMDb says that Christopher Lee says that this movie is one of his greatest roles he's ever performed.
Yeah.
He was really good
He
in
was
it. There was
really,
no
really good.
ham in there at all.
No,
it was all straight play.
No, yeah, he's really really good in it.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what I think is I stumbled upon what I think is a well-known YouTube channel that I've kind of gotten a little obsessed with, and it's a channel called Fascinating Horror. Has anybody ever heard of this?
Might have stumbled across it once or twice, but I don't know. You'd have to tell me. Is it essays or?
The name is misleading. He's this British guy, and he does like 10 to 12 minute little short kind of documentaries, and it's about like disasters from all over the world. It's everything from like, horrible fires to, explosions, or he even did one about this this accident with a that happened in Alabama, in Mobile, actually, of this tugboat barge bumped into a bridge, and it collapsed and caused a train, like a really bad, like the worst Amtrak train wreck. So it's like a really wide gamut of things that he talks about, and he's very good at like laying out, this is the cause, this is how things happen. Like if it's a fire, he's like, it started here and it did this, and then this happened and this happened.
I've never seen it,
and they're only like 10-12 minutes.
Okay.
And he has like a lot of, like, it's a pretty decent sized channel if I remember correctly.
He talks about Action Park.
Yeah.
That is.
That's been a very familiar topic amongst YouTubers.
Well, that, and also the originally HBO Max, but I guess just Max documentary, Class Action Park, which was just amazing.
Yeah. So he talks about a lot of like disasters and bad things happening. But he's also really good. Like he talks about like the aftermath. Okay, this is what regulations, something happened. This is the aftermath, and this is what happened. Of course, with things like with this stuff, usually nobody gets in real big trouble about it, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a pretty good little channel, and I've just kind of been watching like a few videos every night,
right?
Because they're just very easy to watch.
I'm gonna have to do my own little perusing of
this. He has this very nice cadence, and it's got this like very gentle music. He uses like the same music over and over, but it's got like pictures of everything, and if you can find diagram, like you could tell that he does his research, and he gets it never goes longer than like maybe 15 minutes. I think he's got some part 1s and part 2s that are like 12 minutes a piece. But it's kind of addicting to just watch it, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because it is like tragedies that happen.
The story of Balloon Fest of 1986.
Yeah, and it's these.
I remember that because I'm old.
Sometimes it'll be things that you remember, but sometimes it's things that you've never heard of, and it's just like, oh shit, like this was a horrific tragedy that should be remembered. So
yeah, I'm gonna be perusing at a later time.
Yeah. They're really kind of addicting. You just watch one, and you're like, well, this one looks interesting, let me watch that one, and then you go look at the recommended. Well, this one looks interesting, let me watch that one. So you just kind of go on and on and on with it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. It hasn't been too much. It's mostly been a quiet week. Yeah, that's me.
Jay, over to you.
All right. So for me, it's about Tekken 8 specifically. I've been starting to dip my feet into the online world, getting my ass kicked, starting to kick ass a little bit back. Jin is still my favorite character to play. Kind of want to pick up Azucena, who is the coffee mogul. She's a social media owner of a coffee farm in Peru, and therefore she's perfect to be a fighter in Tekken. And so yeah, there you go. So that's been pretty cool, and that's literally all it's been this week, because last week at work was fuck.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Jody.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Sorry, Jody, over to you.
Oh wait, one more. No.
Okay. Jody.
Did I mention? No.
Okay. Jody.
Jesus, what's wrong with you, sir?
What have you been doing?
I'm stuck in hell. It's me, Ethan Skinnell, from Travelers on the Omnibus. Save me by telling us what you did this week.
So we'll start also with a YouTube thing real quick.
All right.
So there's a channel called Answers in Progress. She did a really cool piece on the reasons why people buy books over reading them. and separating that sometimes, especially when you get in the habit of buying things that you're interested in, and that those can be two separate hobbies. So that was, it's pretty cool stuff. I've been playing Balatro. Still haven't gotten past the first deck you start with. I unlocked a lot of other ones and beaten those. And there was something else. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? Hold on. Let me think.
I don't know if this is a
I have an
bit or if he's
idea about what you
actually-
might have been speaking on. If
that's
perhaps his voice
right.
would give you an idea of it.
That's right. Well, you see, last week we got to play a lovely game, and I do mean lovely game that Brady brought
One
by the
might
name
even say
of
wonderful.
Dinosaur Tea Party.
From our recently reviewed Restoration Games episode. Yeah, as we mentioned it there.
That's right.
Delicious
The
tea.
The game's so nice, we had to play twice.
It was a wonderful experience.
My voice started going out later on that evening because I kept doing like posh
Yeah,
voices.
yeah,
I began talking like this
Yeah,
accidentally.
you kept doing like more and more difficult voices
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
a little bit more straining. So yeah.
After we got done playing, and I'm just talking with Jay,
Yeah.
I'm accidentally doing
slipping
the
into the
voice.
voice. Yeah, voices like that used to be like a gimmick I would do with other friend groups way back in the day, before the internet was what it is, before social media, and before the World Wide Web. People would like mimic like TV shows, mostly cartoon shows, because the most meme worthy at the time, before memes was the thing, was like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
And people would always be like, "You idiots!"
Yeah.
And using that as a reference point. But yeah, that was fun. To be like, Ethan, would you happen to be wearing glasses this evening?
Oh, how wonderful of you to notice.
That for like 2 hours.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a fun. It's a guessing game. You're guessing like who somebody is by just all the different icons that they may or may not have on the pictures.
It is prim and proper Guess Who.
It's very prim and proper.
Yeah.
Guess who?
We liked it so much, we bought a copy.
Yeah.
And
It comes in the mail tomorrow.
Yeah.
I started a folk horror Facebook group
Oh, okay.
for two reasons. One, folk horror is really cool, and two, I joined a folk horror group 2 weeks ago on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me guess, no folk horror.
No, it was folk horror, and then two things came under under my attention until it became more to my attention. Forgot how English worked.
Oh, you just need to talk like this.
No. One is apparently the group had one admin and he's been gone for a while.
Oh.
And two, the election happened.
Oh.
And so both sides, every once in a while you get like a folk horror post, and then someone would post something extremely divisive.
Yeah.
And then like half the chat would be talking about that thing.
Yeah.
And then the other half the chat would be like, why aren't we talking about folk horror?
Yeah.
And I would see posts like, I don't mind that we're not talking about this. It's like, okay, there's political pages for you.
Yeah.
You could go to those and not have. And my post was this, after only being in the group for 2 weeks. I don't want politics in my escapism. I'm making a group called Only Folk Horror, and if you'd like to join, that's fine. And then I left the group and blocked all notifications from that post. So, and invited most of my friends on Facebook that I would think would be interested in a folk horror page. And I'm planning on like putting a poster with a little description of a movie every day until I get bored of doing that. So far, we've got Blood on the Blood on Satan's Claw and the Witchfinder General, also known as Conqueror Worm, that I posted so far. Yeah,
Pretty
so
cool.
that's me.
On to me. So I have a thing.
Ethan, what have you been doing?
So I have a thing coming up soon.
Yeah.
It's my
Oh, you don't
It's
say.
my wedding.
serious?
This
You're getting married?
You're getting married?
how lovely of you to notice.
Why the fuck did you tell any of us?
Wait, you're getting married? Oh no. How dare you? How dare all of you?
Ooh, anyway, Bunyan.
So the vast majority of my week has just been preparing everything.
Only this week.
Yeah.
Just now.
We have
You shut up really quick. No. She got mad at that
She
statement.
was like, I've been doing all of
I
this.
said we.
If at any time you want a microphone, just pull it up. I'm not telling you have to. Just anytime you want a microphone, just come on up.
Ethan's fiance has been planning just this week.
Yeah.
Before
We are almost there. We're almost at the day.
yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
That sounded so exciting. I am very excited
How many
about
times
it.
are you going to throw up between now and then?
I don't know how to answer that.
That's actually the correct answer. No, that's good. That's good.
That's a good answer.
Because if you've already planned out the number, clearly you're not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that, and in preparation of going to Universal after the wedding, me and Bianca watched the entirety of the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
It's her first time watching all of them.
Okay.
It's probably my 8th.
Okay.
That's 64 viewings of movies.
Because Christmas time, the ABC family, they'll have the Harry Potter movies.
yeah.
So I believe she said she liked them so much so they were watching the Fantastic Beasts
You got a
movies now.
thumbs up.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's a bad
that's a dip in
follow-up.
quality.
Yeah.
Although to me, there's like 2.5 really good movies out of that, and then the rest of them are fine.
I like Eddie Redmayne. Like we've joked about him thanks to Jupiter.
I like
Ascending,
Eddie
but-
Redmayne. He's kind of getting into that. Please God, give me an Oscar mode. Like he's been in that.
Which
mode
he
for
already has one.
quite some time. Well, I want another one. Gimme, which can get annoying. I like him as an actor, but that doesn't make those movies good or anything that I want to watch.
It's my first time watching the movies because they came out after I read all the books, watched all the Harry Potter movies, and I just had no interest in watching them.
Yeah, there's a reason why they're just like we're just gonna do the original shit over again.
They're all right movies so far. I think Bianca more so likes the creatures in there, specifically the Niffler.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine a hedgehog that is attracted to money. And it takes the money and it stores it in like its little never-ending pouch.
Yeah, that sounds like something. Yeah, that sounds like something J.K. Rowling would create.
I think they're all right movies.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
I guess this is more so me just saying like I've watched them.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Harry Potter, but I'm gonna have a blast in Hogsmeade, the Harry Potter world.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not called the Worst Witch World, because that's pretty much the original source material for that story series.
I remember going to Universal Studios when it was just a generic fantasy land.
I just want to point and laugh at Megatron. That's all I want to do.
Before the what they had King Kong, right?
They have Skull Island.
When I went there, they didn't.
No,
have
well
King-
before Skull Island.
Yeah.
Because I went there when
Jaws. It was Jaws.
It was
wasn't
Jaws.
Yeah, that's it.
they had Jaws.
There was a Jaws. There was a Hulk ride.
Yeah, because there's Islands of Adventure and then there's Universal Studios.
Yeah.
I went there. It was like what 2004.
Did they have the Back to the Future ride?
I went when they had the Back to the Future ride. They had the Men in Black ride.
Yeah.
They had Jaws. They had the Twister ride.
You can watch those movies on YouTube. They have the Back to the Future, the 20-minute Back to the Future ride movie.
Oh,
So
that's
you
pretty
would
cool.
at least get to somewhat experience that.
Yeah. I went when they had the dueling dragons and they were actually running them as dueling dragons because they stopped that because a guy got hit in the face with something.
Oh shit.
Probably got hit in the face with a dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The week that we're going is also the week before the week that Wicked comes out. So there's a lot of promotional stuff for that up right now or about to be open.
Yeah.
So I'm just seeing a lot of Wicked in my path.
Yeah, that's going to be a big push.
Maybe
That's
you can,
all over the place.
Maybe you can try hard to defy gravity.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, that's been me. Me
Tell-
and
Tell me you don't know anything about Wicked without telling me you don't know anything about Wicked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to be popular?
To be honest, that's the only reference I would get from any
What
of that.
popular?
No,
or-
the
Defying Gravity.
Because I've never actually
Most
watched that whole
most
thing.
of the songs don't have. There's like 3 that have like a kind of a thing like Defying Gravity and Popular, and there's like one other one. A lot of the other songs are just like all over the place, singing about being at Shiz, the college that they're roomed together at.
Okay.
Yeah. Both the witches are roomed together at college.
Yeah.
okay.
And then Glinda the Good Witch is trying to give the other witch a makeover to make her popular.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Jay, any feedback?
I'm about to have some feedback about that idea just said. But yes, we do have feedback. Once again, our friend Jarrett Taylor from the ever popular Bearded Drums podcast. I almost said drumming drums, and that's what you
Drumming
do.
beards.
That's what you
There
do.
you
Yeah.
go.
That would be that sounds like a Harmony Korine movie.
Probably.
He did Kids.
Yeah.
He also did a movie where he just went around in New York and he picked up fights with people bigger than him.
Yeah.
And he went to jail for that, and he's never released the movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's probably not legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, after watching Kids, it was hard to like, say like, man, there's not going to be a weirder movie this guy's, and then he did Gummo.
They did Gummo, and then it's
Yeah.
like, yep.
Yeah.
Gummo's in the Criterion Collection.
No.
Yeah, that's one of those weird out of fucking nowhere movies that
Yeah.
you wouldn't think would be.
Hey,
in
you want to watch
Criterion.
somebody eat spaghetti in a bathtub? Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very unsettling looking child. Do
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
Blech. Anyway,
From
from our
do
good
Spring Breakers?
I'm not sure.
I think he did Spring Breakers. Spring Breakers was actually a good movie, except that it's got
yeah, nope. We don't even
All
have to mention
over
his
it,
name.
yeah.
Yeah. He's just all over it.
unfortunately. Well, at least he plays a piece of shit in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, more grills than person. There you go. So, from our friend JT, Jody, Wizard of Barge is the Magic the Gathering artist. So, during our talks with Magic the
Yes.
Gathering, you were trying to remember that one particular artist. And
Yes,
that
I
style.
also own a tarot deck by that guy. He designed a tarot deck as well.
Were those the ones from like early in the days, like even in the podcast in the ever times?
The before
It was
times.
probably about season 1 for this podcast,
there you go.
that because it was a Kickstarter.
Yeah, because those were cool.
Yeah.
Intro horror for kids, The Black Cauldron. We didn't mention The Black Cauldron.
We
but
didn't.
The Black
Yeah.
Cauldron almost bankrupted Disney, which is funny to me.
Man,
That's
when I was
not
younger
the
and-
first time either.
and watched like a re-release, my mom got me a re-release of for the Black Cauldron on like VHS, and man, I did not like that movie.
Yeah.
It was so boring to me.
a lot of people didn't like it.
Except when the Horned King is on the screen, and he is terrifying.
I mean, like as far as entry level horror theme stuff, there's also like we didn't mention Monster Squad, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or,
Done by the same director of Night of the Creeps.
or Fright Night. The original Fright Night from '86.
I think
is that
that's
too dark?
I think that's the next step.
Yeah, right.
I think because I think there's some really and truly for me. I think that's for the horror fan
Right.
that has been in it, and because it plays on a lot of the tropes.
Well, it's just light compared to a lot of other horror movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
true.
How about? Well, no, it'd be too sexy. Like Once Bitten with Jim Carrey, but it's My Best Friend's a Vampire. That's a good one. I think that one's decent for
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
That one's
I
got some
remember-
gore in it.
I remember watching. You know what I found out? The trolls in Ernest Scared Stupid are just repainted and redone the Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
Oh,
No.
nice.
except for the main one. I think he
Nice.
was originally done.
I did not
All
know
the
that.
other ones, and when you and when I saw that mentioned, like, oh, I can see it because I'm remembering some of the trolls.
Right.
The Miak joke from that still hits hard.
Yeah. Oh, what was I gonna say?
I see it now. Holy shit.
Was it My Stepmom's an Alien? I remember seeing that. It had some or My Stepmom's a Monster, Monster maybe. I can't remember. I remember watching a younger a movie that was kind of a horror. A guy falls in, like, his wife dies and he falls in love with this woman, and she's a well-known actress. One of them blonde-haired ones, maybe Goldie Hawn, I can't remember. and she turns out to be like this really gross monster that eats people.
Of course, in my opinion, your first and only horror movie, Martyrs.
Yes.
Because if it's your first horror movie, it's going to be your only horror movie.
Terror Vision. Continuing on.
Oh, that goofy ass fucking monster. Yeah.
Garrett Graham is in that.
That should be one for kids, but then it goes fucking
it
nuts.
goes too weird.
Yeah.
It's too weird.
Yeah. In regards to miniature painting, which our friend JT is big into, Gundam markers are amazing for panel lining and shading. Brady, did you used to? I know you used to put together.
I used to put them together. I never. This was before I was like, fuck painting them or like putting. But you can but for the like with stickers and everything, like you don't have to do that much with a Gundam. But I used to do like putting together the models and everything.
Rogue Hobbies recently did a video on Gundam models, putting them together. And what was crazy to me is how articulate those things are off of a snap off a like a cut off sprue.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, but yeah, I've always heard some really good stuff about Gundam markers. How good they are.
Specifically for Ethan, you make me look bad for not knowing some of these older movies and games.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And then finally, for villains, I was screaming, scope, for whatever makes a villain for someone's point. He doesn't remember who was making the point, but yeah, I can imagine like the scope of a villain, like how far does their villainy go?
Sure.
Or what are their ambitions and dreams and such?
How far
yeah.
is their influence?
Yeah. Yeah, like Thanos wanted to wipe out half of all life, period.
Right.
So that's pretty, okay.
You have one-dimensional villains, and then you have villains that have layers, just like any other character.
Yeah, Lumberg from Office Space just really wanted to make everybody else's life a living nightmare.
Hans from my brain shut right off. Die Hard.
Yeah, Hans Gruber.
Yeah, he's very one-sided. He's motivated by money.
Yes.
Yep.
What was the line when you steal like $600? When you steal $60 million, you have to find either be dead or find someplace to hide. Yeah, like that, Alan Rickman. God bless his soul.
The movie I was thinking of is Step Monster.
Step Monster.
Stars Alan Thicke.
Yeah, My Stepmother is an Alien has another blonde actress in it.
That's the one I'm thinking of with the blonde actress, because this lady is.
It's
she's a
not
brunette
Michelle
in here.
Pfeiffer, but she looks similar.
Yeah, I remember.
Look up My
seeing-
Stepmother is an Alien real quick for me, Ethan. I need to know what the actress's name is before my brain explodes.
Yeah, because the mother/monster in that is a
Can you
is
imagine?
a brunette.
Can you?
Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger. Yeah, makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. That's the one I was thinking of with the blonde, because this lady isn't blonde.
Dan Aykroyd? Was that Dan Aykroyd?
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd's
cool.
in that. Yeah.
Cool.
Dan Aykroyd was in a movie with Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin. And
The Couch Trip.
and it's weird.
Look up the Couch Trip.
It's so fucking weird. Like I think the entire script is written by Aykroyd, and it's
I
just
see nothing but trouble.
nothing. Yeah, that's it. It's nothing
that's
but
another-
trouble.
that's another one.
nothing but trouble.
Okay.
That movie's fucking weird. Oh my god.
Yeah, his nose, if you look really close, is in the shape of a small penis.
Oh, okay.
Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, John Candy, Demi Moore, and Peter Aykroyd.
I could have sworn Alec Baldwin was in that movie. I guess not.
It seems like it has everybody but
Also, Tupac.
Jesus, it really does have everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
the movie.
certain that that's not the weirdest movie Demi Moore has ever been in, because I've watched the
Yeah,
Substance.
you've watched it.
I've seen it. Yeah,
I didn't know what the stitches behind the back meant on the poster, and now I do. And it's
Yeah.
like, holy fucking
I thought
shit.
it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Couch Trip because Dan Aykroyd's in that as well with Charles Grodin and some other actress, Donna Dixon, and Chevy Chase. Yeah, yeah. Nothing but trouble. That movie flopped big time. They're trying to cash in on that Addams Family money.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it came out like a year after that or something, or it was around that time period.
91.
About that time period.
Yeah.
Whoop, the Addams Family. There it is. You know what that reference is? Tag team.
Back again.
Back
Checking
again.
the reckon. Let's begin.
They had a song for Addams Family Values, and it went whoop. The Adams Family, there it is. You're right. That makes no sense, but it's all the soundtrack, and
I
there's a
remember
video
I
for
had
it.
the
MC
soundtrack.
Hammer was also had a song.
Right.
Yeah.
I had the.
They do what they want to do, say what they want to.
I think it was
say.
D2, the Mighty Ducks soundtrack with that, and We Are the Champions on it, and I would play it on a loop, and I'm certain my parents hated me for that.
Gotcha.
That was the Mighty Ducks movie that brought in the knuckle puck.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
more feedback from Mr. JT?
No, that is it for feedback this week. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being passengers on the bus. If you would like to leave feedback on this or any of our previous episodes, travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus @gmail.com. In addition, thank you for stopping by and enjoying the ride with us this week. If you'd like to share the ride with other people who you think would like this, but don't listen to podcasts on the podcast channels you listen to, we're available on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music through our YouTube channel, Travelers on the Omnibus, and iHeartRadio.
Jody, where else can the people reach us?
Well, Ethan, they can get in contact with us through Spotify.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that concludes the first half. Onto the main topic. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for returning and listening to the second half of this episode, where we talk about introductory bosses in video games. It's pretty safe to say that the four of us enjoy playing video games in our spare time whenever we want to relax. If we ever find a new game we want to play and we're unfamiliar with any game mechanics or something new that they added to a beloved series that we enjoy, they always throw in some type of introductory boss to get us used to the climactic battles that we're gonna continue to experience while playing such said game. And sometimes those first bosses are extremely memorable, and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. So, gentlemen, I open the floor for first discussions.
Well, the first boss in Contra isn't very memorable because it's a wall.
It's got a dude at top. You shoot him once he's dead. There's two cannons. You blow those away with about 8 shots apiece. And then you just run up to the door and go plank, 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 and then it blows up and you go on.
The second boss, however, is like this giant alien thing with the arms.
No,
that are
that's
moving.
boss 3.
Is it boss? What was boss
Boss
2?
2 is the base one. That's the one that shoots blue circles at you once you pop all of its come on out and shoot me lights.
Right.
Yep. And then boss 4 looks like the fucking Decepticon head, except there's 4 of them. And you can only shoot them when they slide together.
In original Metroid, it's up to you which first boss that you fight.
You could fight Kraid, you could fight Ridley. The smart way is to go to Norfair and fight Ridley first.
Because of the power ups and the way they're laid out in the game.
But in 1984, Nintendo brought to a generation what was my first boss of all time, which was Bowser. Except it was a Goomba in Bowser, dressed up as Bowser, because if you hit him with enough fireballs, it turns out it's a Goomba. And I think good first bosses set a tone. They kind of give you an idea what the game is going to be like, particularly in these moments where the narrative kind of coalesces to a climax point.
Right.
And you go through that. And however you defeat that is a lot of it is mechanics you've learned along the way, and the notion of mechanics you're going to learn further on down the line.
Right.
And you have one of two ways. If you don't have Fireball Mario, then you gotta jump or duck underneath him when he's throwing fireballs at you, and you got to hit that axe to cut that bridge. If you don't do that, there's no way around
Well,
it.
also in Super Mario Brothers, it pretty much lays out first boss is last boss.
Yeah.
So it gives you a chance to figure out
with some the fireballs are going to come at you faster. I
Right.
think around World 6 is when he starts throwing hammers at you like a hammer brother, and so you have all these other things you have to learn. So there's still updates and shit, but yeah, that very first boss battle is going to be reminiscent of your very last boss.
Would you consider in Ghosts and Goblins the devil guy being the first boss?
And he's not even the first. He's not even the boss of the level you would meet him in.
He's not, but he's annoying as shit.
The Gargoyle Devil, which would later get his own series, his name would be Firebrand.
Oh,
It would be
yeah.
called the Gargoyle's Quest and Demon's Crest series. So that's pretty cool.
At the end of that stage is a giant ass fucking.
It's just an ogre dude, and if you've got the knife, you just fire a billion knives at him, and he dies. So thank God.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely that game gets harder. You think the first level is hard, man.
Yeah.
Wait till they start adding platforming.
Yeah.
Holy hell. But yeah, no, but again, it's to me, it's an idea. A good first boss battle is going to, I won't say dictate, but it's going to set up the challenges that you're going to have down the line and what you're going to have to do.
Gotcha.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about a more recent series with first boss battles. And right now, I think my favorite first boss battle of all time, but I will cede the floor to other people with other ideas.
One that really sticks out to me, and it's because this first boss, and it's really the first thing that you even do in this game, is the last boss in like every other game up until this point in this series, and that is Symphony of the Night, and that is Dracula. Every single other game that of Castlevania that you played, your whole goal is to get to Dracula, and you start out fighting Dracula and defeating Dracula.
Yeah.
And you beat the game.
And it shows you like, oh, this is not going to be your daddy's Castlevania.
Right.
We're about to turn everything that you know about Castlevania on its ear.
Well, what's unique about that one, that boss fight, the first thing you do in Symphony of the Night was the last thing
Yeah.
you did in Rondo of Blood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's if you played Rondo of Blood.
Yeah,
no,
like,
no,
yeah,
no.
back in the day.
Or as it is known in Japan, Akumajo Dracula X.
Sure. But yeah, that one sticks out because that's like, holy shit, this is the last boss in every other game that I've played, and I'm
Right.
already beating him. Where is it? Where are we going from here? Well, you're going to play as Dracula's son. That's where this is going to go. So yeah, I think that's a really like strong way to start start a game, to really like kick it off and be like, yeah, this is not going to be how you thought this game was going to be.
Also in the running for best opening cutscene of all time.
yeah.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world. And then from there, it's just I've been to Thanksgiving dinners that didn't have that much ham.
Yeah,
I
this is
swear
true.
to God.
This is true. What is a man?
A miserable little pile of secrets. And they even had to animate the glass chalice. He throws it down and it breaks. He goes, but enough talk. Have at you. And then you just fight him.
Just go for it.
Yep.
Jody?
Well, so I was like thinking about like old school games. It's weird, right? Like Jay mentioned Super Mario Brothers, but one of my favorite series is Mega Man, and that again, the first boss is your choice.
Yeah.
But that first Mega Man game, they are all a pain in the ass, no matter which way you go about it.
Start with Bomb Man.
And if it's your first time playing, you don't have the abilities of any other.
Yeah, you just have a pea shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't know where to go. It's not in the original Mega Man series, but it's in the Mega Man X series, the very first Mega Man X, because they have this intro stage, and you get to the end, and I can't remember, I could not figure out what the guy's name is. It's Vile or something like that. It's just a dude in one of those armor things.
Yeah.
And I remember, because it just kind of starts you off in there. There's no like intro or anything. And you get to the end here, and you lose. This guy whoops your ass, and you're like, what the hell? Like, this was, as a child, this was the first time I had ever played a boss where, like, you couldn't beat him. Like, it was part of the game that you would lose. And then you get to see Zero come and save your ass, and you're like, holy shit, who is that? I want to play as him. But you don't get to play as him in the first one.
Yeah.
It took four of those before we got that. But yeah, I remember that's just a very strong memory that I have, is like, oh, I'm losing. Oh my God, he's got me. He's gonna kill me. I just started this game, and then the really cool character comes in and saves your ass, and you're like, I'd never experienced that before. Like, it's a really cool experience for me when as a young child. Never got much further in that game after that. I think I beat Chill Penguin or something like that.
Yeah, or Armored Armadillo. I like that one.
Yeah.
Then later on, they started naming things after like Guns N' Roses members.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6. All of the characters in Japan weren't named that. It's when they came to America. They did that. But yeah, that's a really strong first boss for me.
Something with that one in particular. That I won't say that started, but there was this trope, particularly in the 90s. I don't know how much they're doing it in games now, with the exception of the Xenogears, not Xenogears. Xeno
Saga.
Xenosaga. Yeah, Zero. No, not even Xeno.
Xenoblade.
Xenoblade.
Yeah.
I had to think about that for a second. Where you have unbeatable bosses that you like by mechanics you can beat them, but then it kicks to the cinematic and you've lost.
Yeah.
The one that kind of sticks out to me because I got the pixel remasters on Steam. The Final Fantasy II starts out the game with everybody getting wiped out, and it wasn't even by a boss. It was just by like eventually like these higher end enemies that you're going to fight later in the game, and they're brutal as all hell. But it sets you up for this idea of you are the oppressed, you are the weaker, you're the one that has to get better. And I think that was the first time I ever experienced anything like that was Mega Man X. I think honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Because in Final Fantasy IV, you start out with pure power fantasy.
Right.
You're the captain
Yeah.
of a goddamn fucking air wing squadron, and you're blowing up monsters with super bombs.
right, and like and in 7, like you
You get off a train and blow up a whole fucking power
Yeah,
station.
you're a terrorist.
Yeah, and then you could just randomly walk across different parts of the world and come across your first actual boss fight and be like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah, don't walk in the mist too long.
Yeah.
That's also true.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A game that is quite literally nothing but boss fights.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So the game Shadow of
Yeah.
the Colossus.
Yeah,
The Minotaur Colossus, otherwise known as Valis.
Yeah.
It is quite simply the most basic introductory in learning how to fight all the other Colossus.
Yeah.
Colossi.
It's a fun fight because it's very
Simple.
it's simple once you figure it out, but like for a little while there you're like, how the fuck do I even get onto this thing? And it's like, oh, there's a little tuft of hair behind him.
and then you realize like, oh, I can grab it. I can climb him.
Yeah, and it teaches you like to look for things like that in other colossi, and then it completely says fuck you to a couple of times with those. But
it's like, the first boss, it flies. It's fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It's also the first one on my list.
yeah,
Valis,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna lead with the Mega Man, but you took that from me, so had to return the
I'll
favor.
take this from you too. So Metal Gear, the first Metal Gear though,
Okay.
Metal Gear 1988 from the NES.
Damn, old man.
The
which
first,
is how we experience this day. If you were in Japan, you had it in '87 on the MSX,
right? Yeah.
and you had a version that was much more playable. But we'll get into that in a second here.
Metal Gear, man, what a hard motherfucking game that was. Hardcore to the nth degree. It was, man, it had like a 40 character password code.
Damn.
And the zeros and the letter O's looked very close to each other. And
Don't forget the L's and ones.
then the L's and ones as well. So that was not the funnest part of that game. Binoculars almost completely useless. But and Metal Gear is almost completely devoid of actual what we would consider like a first boss situation, and where it's your actual like boss in the game is the boss, which is the computer or the Metal Gear tank or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Project Metal Gear. But then, of course, when you say Metal Gear, almost everyone over the age of, now probably around, 25, 30 or whatever, or maybe a little bit older, like Metal Gear Solid.
Yes.
Psycho Mantis. Right?
That is not the first boss.
That's not the first boss.
No.
What's the first boss of Metal Gear Solid?
I want to say it's Revolver Ocelot, but I think that
I
one
think
gets
you're
cut off.
correct.
I think that fight gets cut off. Though.
I
don't know.
think you're correct.
I know Vulcan Raven's before Psycho Mantis.
Revolver Ocelot.
It is Revolver Ocelot.
Okay.
And that boss fight ends weird because right as that gets going, Ocelot gets his fucking arm chopped off, and it's like, well, get better skedaddle, and then it's done.
Borderlands 2, your first boss fight is like a fucking dragon.
Oh, okay. I don't think I ever made
Bloodwing.
it. I don't think I ever
whatever
made
it was
that
called.
far.
I thought it was the huge abominable like Yeti looking dude for Borderlands 2.
I don't think I ever got that far in Borderlands 2.
I just remember
Did I
fighting
even
the
play
fucking
Borderlands
dragon.
2? I can't remember. And it could be in Borderlands where
Borderlands is one of those games where you can follow
you can
the
just
plot.
kind of go off in a
and you go-
direction.
Yeah, but
The
yeah.
first actual boss is the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we mentioned Final Fantasy earlier, I want to mention the original Final Fantasy. Like, they start you off with a boss fight, and that is Garland. And spoilers for an incredibly old game, that actually is technically the final boss as well, because Garland becomes chaos by going back in time and doing some weird shit. And
It's a time paradox.
yeah, don't make me explain the plot of Final Fantasy, the original one.
No, go ahead.
Because it gets
We can wait.
out of hand. But yeah, you go there, and like this is the first real enemy that you probably face, because you're going to go directly to the little cave of the hero or whatever that you're supposed to go to. And yeah, he's kind of a pushover, and then he kind of, when he becomes chaos, you're like, oh shit, this is this is quite a bit that I have to deal with.
That was a cool reveal playing it the first time, because I get to the end of the Temple of Fiends, and it's like I finally I open the door and there's Garland right there, and then like you talk with him, and then he moves a step back and he gives more of it. And for the time, that was a great way to pace out that thing, to kind of give you this slow reveal, everything. But yeah, it's all a time loop.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Very weird.
I like in Final Fantasy when you get to the elf town, there's like 3 graves, and in the American version, the grave has Link's name on it, but in the Japanese version, it's Lodo, which is Erdrick, which is the hero from the Dragon Quest series. So these little digs at some of the other ones there. But yet again, lead up to what I thought it teaches you mechanics. It's you have to level up to get there. Usually about level 3 is when you want to head to the Temple of Fiends. You can maybe get there at level 2. I would say no, because I swear to God, if you go into the Temple of Fiends and you get that 9 wolf pack, just fucking quit out. Just do it, because you're not going to win that one. But yeah, it teaches you how to level up, and then you have your goal met. Your goal meet, boom, and then a bridge gets built, and then the story actually begins. Because as soon as you hit the bridge, they give you more story about everything.
We would also be remiss if we didn't mention Final Fantasy VII, the Scorpion Sentinel.
Yeah.
This was a lot of people. This was their first, Final Fantasy, and this was also their first Final Fantasy boss. And this teaches you, okay, it's not always just hit the thing you want, because sometimes it's going to counterattack if you and you have to read the warnings and things like that. So I think that's a very memorable boss for a lot of people,
and even for at least for American players who've played Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3, aka 1, 4, and 6. This is your first introduction to limit breaks,
right?
And so there's the limit, which by this time, if you haven't already activated against some scrubs going up to it, you have enough to where you're starting to use them against the boss.
Yeah, and you get a really cool attack that you get to do. Yeah, it doesn't stick out for me as much, because like I am not a big a fan of Final Fantasy VII as a lot of people, because it wasn't really like my first one. But it's one of those, like if you talk about like first bosses or bosses in introductory stages, if you look at any lists or anything like that, they're eventually gonna say somebody's gonna mention, hey, Scorpion Sentinel, or I think it's got another name too.
Everything I've seen is Scorpion Sentinel.
Yeah, I saw one thing. I didn't write it down, but I saw an article where they named it something else. I don't know, which is also true of another one.
Issue
that I've got to talk about.
An issue that I sometimes have with people who talk about Final Fantasy is they'll talk about the Japanese naming for things, and they'll use them interchangeably with just the names that we would have in the English translation. So that's something that it's similar, though I definitely see the reason for people who talk about Street Fighter 2. When you talk about it competitively, you cannot use the names Balrog, M. Bison, and Vega, because in Japan, M. Bison is the boxer.
Yeah.
Vega is Balrog is the matador, and Vega is the dictator, and you have to use that terminology when you're talking about that, because In America, it's Balrog is the boxer, Vega is the matador, and M. Bison is the dictator. So you had to create those 3 terms there because it's okay. Who are you playing? I'm playing Balrog. Okay, well, and then wait a minute. You told me it's like so be able to prepare for matches and like if it's like you have to have that kind of nomenclature there. Otherwise, you have this divide where it does make a big difference as to what you're going to be preparing for.
Yeah, they had to make those changes because they didn't want to get sued by Mike Tyson.
Nice.
Look at the artwork for Balrog.
I know
and
the
it looks
Right.
exactly like
Yeah.
him, like in so many ways.
No, I'm familiar with the art for him. A game that came out almost 10 years ago, Undertale.
Sans.
That's
No,
not,
no,
he's
no.
the absolute last boss.
Oh, is he?
He's the last.
Okay.
If you do the genocide run, he's the absolute last thing you face in the game.
I would like to mention Toriel.
Yeah.
Toriel, the goat mom that adopts you.
That's
As you
right.
find yourself lost in this weird world,
Mm-hmm.
she teaches you to show mercy and show compassion towards everyone.
And how do you repay her kindness and her
You
mercy?
try to leave her. She
Uh-huh.
just wants to keep you safe. She,
Uh-huh.
she wants to
Yeah.
shield you from the horrors of whatever of.
They
all the other
pretend to give you an
monsters.
option of being able to win that fight without actually, combat.
And how does she try to stop? She fights you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She forces you to use the skills that she showed you
Yep.
in the first place.
Yep.
Or she's just throwing fireballs all at you, left, right, up, down, and center, upside down. Also,
Mm-hmm.
it is a good intro to what the future bosses are going to be
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and how batshit dumb they are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it also has that, kind of revelation. It's like, oh, I really didn't want to kill her. This is terrible.
Yeah.
That kind of gut punch.
Hey, you
So,
don't
yeah.
kill her.
Yeah.
If you're doing the
You
the
can
troop-
you can
kill
You
her.
can kill her.
Yeah.
Probably the first. If you don't know anything about
Oh,
this
no,
game
yeah,
and you're playing
yeah.
it,
Oh, yeah,
you're
yeah,
going to kill her.
Just
And
out
you're
of
going to feel
frustration.
horrible.
Yeah,
Afterwards.
out of frustration, I killed her.
Yeah.
Out of frustration, I'm like, I'm trying to be nice here.
Yeah.
Please let me live.
One of my first memorable mini bosses was not first, but memorable, I guess, should be one of the weirdest was in Kid Icarus, the eggplant wizard. Fuck that guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Turned
yeah.
you into an eggplant, Ethan.
I know the eggplant
You
wizard.
have to. Do you know the eggplant wizard? Have you heard of the Muffin Man?
Yes,
Do you know the walrus?
the walrus.
Yeah, the
Cuckoo
walrus.
could chew.
Cuckoo could chew.
I'd like to be under the sea
Okay, gotcha.
In an octopus's garden.
in the shade.
Yeah.
All right, we're singing a Ringo song now. We gotta stop.
Well, we mentioned a Ringo.
All
thing
I
over
have
there.
is this photograph. Okay, so Ethan, when you get turned into an eggplant from the eggplant wizard, what do you have to do?
I typically just ran from him. That's all
yeah,
I did.
but what if you get turned into an
you ran
eggplant?
from him, but you got turned into an eggplant.
What do you do?
You're on the spot here,
Oh,
or you can't get married on Saturday.
Oh shit!
no,
Yeah.
no, I'm not agreeing to that
No,
stipulation.
the prisoner doesn't get to agree to shit.
No, I
5,
no.
4,
I just ran from the wizard.
3.
That's all I did.
2. But
You have to go to the hot springs
Yeah, you had to go to the hot springs,
to like undo the eggplant wizard.
which you had to find somewhere in the catacombs.
Yeah, that game's map layout was.
And that wasn't. He wasn't even a boss.
No.
he's just a dude you meet.
yeah.
God damn it, I don't like that.
Eggplant wizard sucks.
He does.
What's the this is not a boss at all, but
Sure.
the floating skull that like catches on fire once he sees you and just like every time he like
That's called your sleep paralysis demon. that's you need to go see a psychiatrist.
What about the cloak?
Wait, hold on. I'm curious now. So flaming skull
the flaming
thing.
skull that every
What
and
game are we talking about?
Kid
Kid
Icarus?
Icarus. No, I'm thinking of Uprising. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
of
you're not
Kid
thinking
Icarus.
of-
you're thinking-
Never mind.
yeah.
Kid Icarus had the
Ignore
weird
me.
looking necromancers with cloaks that would like their faces would get all wacky if they saw you.
Yeah,
And-
because they look like Grim Reapers.
yeah, and they would summon little
Yeah, and they would like little Grim Reapers would
little
come try to kill
Reapers
you.
would come and
Yeah.
try and kill you. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the sequel game for the Flaming Skull,
Kid Icarus.
which that's also a pretty fun game.
That is a fun game. I can attest to that. So there's this place. It's called Pewter City, and there's a gym there. And you go in the gym. You think I'm going to work out? No, I'm going to have monsters battle someone else's monsters. The guy's name is Brock. You might know him from the actual anime that it comes from. Yes, Pokemon. If you've played any Pokemon, you have played every Pokemon.
Yeah,
Every
this is true.
mainline game. There's 8 gyms. There's Champions Road. It's not Champions Road, but yeah, and then there's the Elite Four. But it all starts with that first gym. The first gym leader. If you go all the way back to Pokemon Red and Blue, and also Yellow, you face Brock, and he's got Geodude and Onyx. And
If
you
you
just gotta
chose
deal with that shit.
Charmander, you're a fuck.
You are fun. If you chose Venusaur, you are A-OK. You're A-OK for Bulbasaur, excuse me. But also, I think you were good for because the second gym was Misty, right? And that's water.
Misty water.
Once again, you're grass. You're good to go.
And
Absolutely.
third, Lieutenant Surge, you're grass. It doesn't affect you that much.
Yeah.
You're golden.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Charizard is the best of all time. No, Venusaur. Venusaur is the greatest of the that's a hot take.
Yeah, hot take.
And
Hottest of
a
takes.
weird hot take because it does involve the fire Pokemon, but you know it's the way it is. I
And-
also respect I respect Charizard as well, but Venusaur was always my choice.
And basically, every other Pokemon game, the first gym is always going to be the intro boss. That's all. That's all they will ever be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the third boss, and you get to the third gym in the second game, and Whitney with her fucking cow just stomps you in all your dreams.
That mill tank.
The fucking mill tank.
Yeah. But again, it's that going back to the thing of this is your first experience, the primary loop. This is how it ends, and then when we start up the next loop, going to the next city. So yeah, like I think it is. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but it is on the nose. If you've played a Pokemon main game, you've played them all. If you know, if you can get through that first part, the rest of the game is going to follow a similar thing.
Game I want to talk about next is Nier Automata, and this has one of the most impressive first bosses that I've ever seen. Most places I saw it, they called it the Goliath, but I also saw somewhere where they called it the Ingles. I don't know, spelled with Engels. I don't know if that's a fuck up on that website or not. Whatever. It's a giant like construction crane monster with a humongous face that you fight in like multiple phases. It does like one of my favorite things with an introductory fight, boss fights that we'll talk about in detail in just a little bit with another series of games, but you do it in different phases, and it shows you like, hey, sometimes this game is going to be a bullet hell, and sometimes this game is going to be an action RPG where you got to pull off sick combos and stuff like that, and cast different. They're not really spells, but they're like, you got to keep your trigger finger on with your little floaty dude shooting the thing, and you just fight it in different ways. Like sometimes you will be, sometimes you'll be flying through the air in a bullet hell thing. Sometimes it will be like right in front of you. Sometimes it'll be like a side to side thing. It's just a really good way to introduce you. Okay, these are all the ways that you're going to have to do things in this game. And you're going to have to think about things differently because this isn't your everyday RPG. So that one's and it's huge and impressive. Like this thing, if its head gets close to you, like you don't even come up to like its bottom mouth area thing. It doesn't really have a mouth, but like that area,
The
like
upper lip.
yeah,
That lower lip.
you're not even like this thing towers over you, and it's so impressive when you finally beat it. Sort of, kind of. You have to do some stuff, but
Is that game good? I've always seen it. I've always seen it on like PlayStation when it's on sale. It's
Yeah.
on Switch. I know nothing about the game.
so I can't I have always heard good things about it, and I played a few hours of it, and it's one of those where I picked it up and then I put it down. But I enjoyed everything about it. It does some really interesting things with storytelling and like the kind of meta-ness, because it's one of those games where I know you have to beat it multiple times to really understand things. Like you'll beat it once and you'll be like, okay, I gotta go through this again, doing some different things and everything like that before you get like the true ending and everything like that. But it has some like really interesting, like you just looking around on the menu on your like little menu, like you have slots for things, and it's things like, so you only have like so much room for like gear and different things and little add-ons. But you can but you can jettison the ability to save and you get an extra slot, or you can jettison the ability to do this other thing that is in every fucking game ever, and you can get another slot, and you can have, and your person can get more powerful.
I choose to not jump. I'm now able to get to punch harder.
It's hard to explain. Like, it's a really hard to fully explain game, and I can't really even fully explain it because I haven't played the whole thing. But I really enjoy the game. I need to go back and play it fully. But it is a very interesting game, and I think it's one that you might like just from what little I've played. There's a boss that you fight where you come to this place, and there's these like you're like an android, like you're like a humanoid android, but there are other little robots that just look like little trash can looking dudes with like really spherical heads, and you come across a bunch of them trying to mate. Like they're all like they've seen people have sex, and they're all trying to emulate that, and they're just making clanking sounds. It is so bizarre. And then this dude falls out of like an egg thing, and you have to fight him. It's really weird. It's hard to explain, but like it's a really cool game. And I need to go back and play some more of it because it's right up my fucking alley.
That's a NIER, correct?
Yes. Nier Automata. Yeah.
Not just Nier, that's a different game.
Yeah, it's technically in that because they do because Nier also plays with. It's in the same family. I don't know how it's related because it doesn't feel like it's related, but it's a good game, and yeah, like I said, it's got a very strong start to it that I really like.
$40.
Yeah,
I would like to pose a question to one of the panel.
Okay.
Jody Kite, you mentioned Mega Man first. Do you prefer having some sort of choice or variability in your first bosses, or do you like just here comes the first boss and just Mega Man kind of stood out? I'm just curious on that.
I think it just depends on the way the game presents that option to you. Like some games, it seems like there's too much choice in that regard. I would prefer, and this is gonna sound crazy, but like in a sandbox game, like in an open world game, for me to know who the first boss is, because of the amount of options there are. Like if I wanted to like specifically like, okay, what's the first guy I should be going after? In Skyrim, they tell you like the main story plot, but they don't say, hey, if you want to get these masks, you need to like start with this guy over here.
Like it gives you a recommended path almost for bosses.
Well, because like the first thing you do in the mainline story for Skyrim is they tell you got to get this dragon stone. And when you defeat the guy, they give you a mask. There's like 12 of those. So you can like go try and get all the other ones, because that like actually unlocks something. Or you could just go for the main story. So it's, I mean, for linear games, I don't mind. Well,
I think we also need to like mention that like the choose your first boss, you have the option. That is a very small amount of games that actually do that, and even like the later Mega Man games, you had an introductory stage with an introductory boss, and then you got the choice of whichever ones. I don't know when did they do that in the first couple? I've never actually played through like the first couple of Mega Man.
Mega Man, the numbered series, like so 1 through, is it 10 or 11?
They're up to 11.
They're up to
Okay,
11.
yeah. From Mega Man 1 to 11, you pick the stage.
That's not true.
Is it not?
In
Mega Man 9, I think.
Was
in
it
Mega Man
9?
8 and Mega Man 8, I know because that's the one that
was
I
the one
played
on
a lot.
PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah.
I played the shit out of that one.
Oh, that's a linear game.
You start you have your choice after it, but you have an introductory stage with an introductory boss.
Right.
This giant crab thing that you have to fight.
Shovel Knight does that in a similar way. That you fight the Black Knight first, and then you go into the world map, and then you get to have a choice of here's 2 bosses. You can choose whichever one you want to fight first, and then when you beat them both, you go to 2 more bosses, and you get
When they started going back,
But I don't know when they actually.
it stopped. It must have stopped. It stopped at. Well, I know I've played memorably. I played 1 through 6, and it's definitely like that. So
where they just start you. Here's the choice.
they give you the choices at the very beginning of the game.
Okay.
They might have started doing
7 might have been because that's
7
the one when they go from like the really lower resolution graphics to that's the one on.
I know. Like
I want to say that one came out about the same time as Mega Man X because they were both on the Super Nintendo.
it was 7 on the Super Nintendo.
I think so.
1 through 6 are all NES.
NES,
7
yes.
is Super Nintendo. 8 is PlayStation.
PlayStation, yeah.
8 is PlayStation, and then when they do 9's quote unquote
Nine's when
9
they
was the
go-
Wii. 9 was
Nine's
the
when-
Wii.
9. Well, it's also it was.
They go back to like the old school.
They go back to
graphics.
you select the stage.
9, 10, and then I think 11 they went to like a more modern style.
Now there's a game I want to talk about this game real quick because not just the first boss of it, but the actual game because it's unique. It's the only game that I've ever played that's like this. And they never made a sequel to it because it was one of those like it was a heavily Japanese game in the time period where it wasn't like it is now where they can like localize games and keep all the Japanese in it and have like it with like subtitles or whatever, but during this time period that wasn't necessarily the case in its Chaos Legion.
Okay.
It's made by Capcom, and the premise is I don't remember the story plot premise, but the way the gameplay works is that you kill an enemy, and then you could summon that enemy or a number of those, depending on how many points you have.
Yeah.
Of lesser versions of that enemy to fight other enemies. And so like when you fight like they start you out with like a subpar kind of thing that an introductory summon basically to fight the first boss, and then when you fight the first boss then you can summon more of like you could summon that boss in your next fight, but you have to be careful of how much you expend points to summon certain things because like the really badass things you can summon take all of your points and you have to wait for those points to regenerate, which when you're in the middle of a fight you might not be able to regenerate them fast enough. You also had like an attack you could attack as well, of course, but it's got like a Devil May Cry vibe to it. Maybe the first because it feels like it was made by the same team that made the first Devil May Cry game. But it's on the PS2, and for me it holds up. Like I still go back to it every once in a while and play through it. It's great. Chaos Legion, it's amazing. But the first boss in that game is very memorable. But almost all the bosses in that game are memorable.
I remember seeing it, and the cover of the game just didn't.
It doesn't sell itself.
Yeah, it does.
It does not sell
at
itself ever. Very well.
So it doesn't look very. It didn't look very interesting. But I remember seeing.
No, yeah, it's the most. It looks like it might as well be Bouncer.
Yeah.
As far as the cover goes.
Now there's a different cover for PC, and
See,
Yeah,
that looks badass.
That looks a lot cooler.
That looks way badass.
yeah.
That looks a lot cooler.
But I mean, it depends on the style game. Going back to Jay's question, like Bloodborne, because it's mostly linear. At least the first stage is very linear compared to some of the other Souls games.
Yeah.
Which
Funny Funny you mentioned Souls games.
I was wondering when
So-
somebody was going to
Yeah.
mention them. I didn't
Yeah.
write those down because I was like, I don't play those games. Somebody else hopefully
So-
will mention them.
Yeah.
So again, my thesis going through this, something that is indicative of how the rest of the game will kind of play out and where you are and where you're going. Asylum Demon, who is the first boss of Dark Souls,
Yes.
you fight them in the Asylum. That is right now for me the epitome, the absolute epitome of a first boss in a game and what it teaches you about that game.
Yeah.
In internet parlance, get good, but no, it's a matter of the actual mechanics. Video Game Donkey actually said it very, very, I think, succinctly. It is a simple game. That does not make it easy. It's a simple game. It's about memorizing pattern, knowing when to react, and then knowing when to strike. And that is a perfect example for the Asylum Demon in the first game.
I played Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I know what that looks like.
Yeah, and like you roll into this asylum, and all of a sudden this giant fuck ass demon shows up. You can beat that demon without having to leave. You can stay in that room and fight that sumbitch. Good luck.
Yeah, or you could just like go through the side hole over there.
Yeah, go through the side hole, get a little bit more XP, aka souls.
Yeah.
get an actual sword, and then go ham. I think even at that point you don't even have the Estus flask yet. I think you have to get that from God bless. I can't remember his name, but no,
My brain left my body.
Yeah.
it's not Solaire. That's later in the game.
I know that one came up on a lot of lists when I was looking at it. Are there any other of the Souls-like games that really stick out with their first boss?
I cannot.
Not for me,
Not
really.
really.
You could make that because I haven't played it yet, but you have Elden Ring, and again, it's the same
Yeah.
kind of thing with the Asylum Demon. You encounter the first boss,
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
run. You can fight. He's less fightable than the Asylum Demon is. You can fight and beat him. That thing is supposed to teach you, okay, death is not the end. You can come back from that.
Right.
But at some point, you have to get strong enough to be able to challenge these things.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also like some games, like especially like more recent indie games, like the Metroidvanias, like Dead Cells. You don't really have. Well, you do. You have the Warden. Never mind. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's a very interesting first boss to have, but the Dead Cells doesn't have many boss fights.
Yeah.
You have like one or two, and then you're at the end of the game eventually. Whenever
Yeah.
you get there.
Well, you've got enough troubles just with the regular ebb and flow. And I don't
Yeah.
mean that in a bad way. I like Dead Cells, but you have
Right.
enough with just the regular ebb and flow and the rank and file monsters that you have in that game.
A lot of Metroidvanias are kind of set up to where like you do have that, like we talked about with the with the Metroid, like you have it where I can choose to go this way or I can choose to go that way. You kind of have a choice of it. So that's very interesting.
I hate conjunctivitis. That thing is fucking annoying. I don't know if you fought that.
I know
yeah.
what you're talking about. I thought you were saying I hate conjunctivitis. Yes, pink eye sucks. Don't
Yeah.
get it.
No,
It
the
does,
actual
it does.
monster
Don't
in
get it.
Dead Cells.
It does.
One more that I kind of want to mention. There's a little game called. I dropped my phone a little bit.
That's an interesting game.
Yeah.
I've never
Ocarina of
played. I
Time.
dropped my phone a little bit.
Ocarina of Time, a beloved game of the Legend of Zelda games. The three of us have played it, I believe.
The three of us. There's four of us. Which one are you excluding?
Yeah.
I thought Jody said he's never.
I've never had an N64, so
Yeah.
We need to fix that. Ocarina is one of the
So-
best stories ever told in video games.
So
who's the first boss in the original Zelda game from Nintendo?
the original Zelda game?
Yeah,
I can't.
Ganon. All right, continue
Nope.
on.
That is incorrect.
That's incorrect.
You actually cannot fight Ganon. He is the only dungeon boss you cannot fight at the start because you have to have all 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom in order to access Death Mountain. Typically, the first boss in Legend of Zelda is Aquamentus, who is the main boss of level 1, who's just a dragon that shoots fireballs at you.
Oh yeah.
But because you can take a left when you're supposed to take a right in that game, any of the first 8 dungeons could technically be your first boss. in that
Right.
some of the later ones you need items from other ones in order to be able to find them, but yeah, you could have that situation come
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Other 2D Zeldas start to become more linear, where you have to go in a certain order to do it.
Well, particularly like Link's Awakening, like the way the
Yeah.
story progresses.
Oh
you
yeah,
have
that
to
one
hit those dungeons
definitely.
in order.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the Great Deku Tree, and you get to this one big ass area. There's pillars of tree all over the place. There's spider webs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going on, but you hear this like clacking noise, like skittering noise. And you look up. There's this giant big ass spider on the ceiling, and it is staring at you with one eye. And I'm of course talking about
Goma.
Mother Goma. Yeah, it is.
Goma is an original boss from the first game. She's basically a spider that shoots fireballs at you. You have to have the bow and arrow because it's the only thing that you can strike her in the eye with, and that's how you get past her. And I think she is 2 of the bosses. I want to say she's 5, maybe 4 and 7, or yeah, I think she's 4 and 7. Because Aquamentus comes back to be the boss of level 8, which makes him like the most anticlimactic boss of the penultimate dungeon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Unless you like stacked up on Deku nuts and you can't have her paralyzed, you can have a real hard time fighting her.
Yeah.
I think I had the slingshot. Just slingshot the eye. Oh, she fell. Stab, dead.
I always waited until she got like right in front of me, and then just throw a Deku nut, got her
that'll do.
paralyzed,
That'd do
and
too.
then just wailed on her with the sword.
That was good stuff too.
Well, there's also the first boss in Skull Monkeys,
Okay.
which is a super like triple size head version of one of the programmers. They just took a giant picture of this guy's head and inflated it and put little like tiny arms on the outside of
That's
it
funny.
and legs on the outside of it, and like as the dude, you have,
His name is Joe Head Joe.
Joe Head Joe, show Brady, show
Oh god,
yeah,
what the?
yeah.
Oh,
That's
God.
great. That's one of the programmers. You have to jump on his head, and his eyes get real wide. Steam starts
Oh,
shooting
dear
out of
Lord.
his ears.
Oh
Yeah. Skull Monkeys.
Yeah.
I talked about it on another show that we were on. Some of
Yeah, I
us,
was about to say,
right.
this is the first time somebody's talked about the skull monkeys in
Yeah.
a very
In
long
I miss the
wow.
days when we talked about 2D
Side-scrolling
side-scrolling PlayStation platformers.
Yeah.
You know, like Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, the Sub-Zero game, I guess. I don't
More
know.
combat mythologies.
Yeah, mythologies. Yeah.
That was
Man.
supposed to be a series of them, and they did one,
Yeah.
and that was enough.
They did 2, sir.
What was the second one?
There's one with Jax and Sonya.
Okay,
Oh, that's Special
that is Mortal
Forces.
Kombat Special Forces.
Yeah.
That is not in the mythology series. Ed Boon even said that himself. They were like, the Sub-Zero thing happened, and we were done.
But it was a non-fighting game Mortal Kombat
I remember
game.
being young and thinking that that game was cool, and man, that game sucked.
I played a game, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is the Mortal Kombat game with Jax. No, this is Power Stone. Because one of the guys looked like Jax from Mortal Kombat Special Forces.
I just remember back when you could get like gaming magazines with like tells you how to like walk through the game, and most of the game the advice for Mortal Kombat mythology was jump and do high kicks, jump and do air kicks, and that's all you ever have to do in that game. And it's like, maybe this game sucks. Like that doesn't seem like you should just be able to do that. Like, what about like freezing people? No, don't do that. Don't freeze people. Don't do anything else. Just do jumping forward kicks. That's all you ever have to do.
That's like the first boss in Super Mario World. Not Super Mario World. My God, where's my brain at? Super Mario Brothers 2, Birdo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reoccurring.
Reoccurring boss.
Yeah.
That music will forever be stuck in my brain somewhere.
Yeah.
Boop-a-doop-a-doo, boop-a-doop-a-doo.
Da, da, da.
Are there any more bosses that we want to talk about before we
We're
go
rolling
over to,
into the main event.
Yeah.
Of the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
that
we're
sounds
done.
fine to me.
Brady, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So I came up with the idea for this, and this series is basically the thing that made me think of this, because I think that this is the series that does these introductory bosses the best. They weave them through each level. They teach you about how to do things. They always have some like really cool thing that happens in them. And this is the God of War series. Like I remember that first time when I was playing through the level on the boat where you're getting attacked by the Hydra and you're fighting dudes, and then all of a sudden a gigantic head pops through the thing, and you have to fight it off, and then you keep going and you have to fight some more, and then you get out to on top of the boat, and there's the Hydra with its multiple heads, and then it was one of the first times I can remember playing a game where like, oh, I killed this head, but it doesn't disappear. It just kind of dies for a little bit and comes right back. And you had to, oh no, I have to go and like hit this anchor to drop on top of it to kill it. Like it just had this like such dynamic like stuff that you had to do. It was so cool. And they all do this and they all like escalate. Like you have the Colossus in the second one, which is all through the, like you have to fight it multiple times doing different, and like one of them culminates, you just do a scratch on the side of its face and you're like, holy shit, how am I supposed to beat this thing? Really, really fucking cool. And then the third one, how do they top that? You fight a fucking god.
You fight fucking Poseidon.
You fight Poseidon on Gaia, who is a giant Titan climbing you don't ever touch the Olympus mountain. You are on a giant thing crawling up Mount Olympus, and he's like this giant water
like this
thing.
Water avatar that's like the form of a like he's like on like a giant water person with like tentacles, and he's on a fucking horse.
Yeah, like a hippocampus.
Yeah, hippocampus.
It's so like crazy, and like you're like he'll like wrap around Gaia's arm, and you have to fight him on Gaia's hand, like and get him off of that, and then it ends in like
you jump off of Gaia and you tackle Poseidon out of the avatar into the mountainside.
Yeah, and then you just kill him in the most brutal way, which is how everything happens.
First person point of view of Kratos just beating the ever living shit out of you.
Yeah. It's really crazy. And then, they still continue this when they do the new God of War series, like
Baldur.
Yeah. Well, at that time, you just know him as the Stranger.
Yeah, the Stranger. Yes.
You don't even know who he is at the beginning. It's just this dude who shows up and starts fucking shit up, and
saying that like he knows who you are. Ghost of Sparta.
Yeah,
he calls you the Ghost of Sparta.
He never in that first fight. He never actually calls you that.
Does he? I thought he did.
There's a chance. No, there's a theory that he doesn't even. He thinks that he is the guardian of the giants. He thinks that he is Kratos' dead wife, because he never says any. Like if you watch the cinematics again, he never mentions that anything that he knows who Kratos. He might die. Spoilers, not even knowing who Kratos is, thinking that he's still fighting like the guardian of Jotunheim. It's very interesting. But yeah, like that's a badass fight, and then it introduces you to like what is it, Spartan's Rage? I think that's
Spartan's
the thing.
Rage.
But it's really cool. Like this guy just shows up, and you're like, why are you fighting me?
And he's mocking you and saying like, I'm gonna tear down this what you call a home, and to find what you're hiding,
and then he you learn that like you can't really like hurt this guy, and that's when I was like, oh, this is Baldur, if you know anything about Norse mythology. But I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. And then they do a really cool fight in Ragnarok, although I haven't made it all the way through there, but I've made it through that first fight with you fight fucking Thor. Like
the whole thing about Ragnarok is they tease you with Kratos versus Thor. You beat the first game knowing that you're eventually going to fight Thor, and it is everyone's expectations being matched and exceeded.
Yeah,
it's one of those bosses with like we were talking about, like you're meant to lose, and then it brings you to like the reloading screen, and Thor is talking to you, the player, like, nah, we're not gonna do this. Revives you, and continues to beat the shit out of you.
That like the God of War series, it has its problems. We're not going to talk about what's that Ascension. Fuck that game.
No. My 13th birthday, I got Ascension.
Oh,
and
man, I never
hated
made it through all of Ascension because it was so disappointing. It was so bland and boring.
I got to the second act, and I didn't know how to fucking get past the cogs.
I got to where I beat the Hecatoncheires and I didn't play anything else after that. That was a cool fight, but it wasn't like a. But it wasn't. It was just boring because
I did not enjoy it.
But for the most part, and that one was even done. I think that one was done by a different studio as well. I think that was kind of outsourced because they just wanted another God of War.
The trailer for Ascension, I love. I love the trailer of it.
Yeah, that one was very interesting. But even like the PSP games, they weren't quite as interesting, but they were still pretty good.
Chains of Olympus,
Ghost of
Sparta.
Sparta. I can't remember like the first boss in Ghost of Sparta isn't very memorable. But you fight like the Basilisk, and then I think you fight the Persian King. That's the two first bosses.
What's
in
the
there.
game where you fight the Kraken?
That is 3. Yeah,
Okay, I can't remember.
you fight the Kraken in 3.
Because I know.
No. You fight the Kraken in 2, because the Kraken is right before you get Pegasus.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I played 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I would like to replay all of them, but my PlayStation 3 doesn't work right. But yeah, I think that like when it comes to like introductory bosses, like this series does them pretty much perfectly. Like it drops you into the middle, and it lets you do like these cool things, and it shows you like how the game, like the introductory level / boss, because they're always really good about, like I said, weaving the boss in and out. Like you'll get away from the boss and then you'll have to fight some more people or do something else,
And they're reoccurring too. Like you fight Baldur multiple times. You fight Thor 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And each time it's progressively more difficult.
Yeah, they add a wrinkle and things like that. So yeah, I think like I said, when I was thinking of this idea, like the God of War fights were like the number one thing, the inspiration for this, because I think that, like I said, they do it the absolute best of this. I think that's really all I got to say about it. But yeah,
all right.
Great set of great bosses all the way through the games, but I think when it comes to like those first impression bosses, like they really knock it out of the park.
I never really played any of the God of War games, but I've seen other people playing. I've seen footage of it, and they look really fun, and I probably need to go back and play them. I'm a big fan of any sort of combat system where it involves like pattern recognition. Like when you have like certain patterns you can see, those games have a lot of that in them, and so does Devil May Cry as well, where you have pattern recognition to where
they're in both of those.
Near
series.
Automata too, right? Like it's got pattern recognition in that.
Yeah,
those are my favorite kind of fights.
Yeah, and then God of War is in that same vein as a Devil May Cry. It's a little bit different, but but it's still in that same vein. I didn't put any of those because none of those really stuck out to me personally.
Well, no, not really, but I mean, they do fall into the category of.
But yeah.
All right. Any final bosses to cover, or any general statements we would like to make?
Any final bosses to cover?
Any final first bosses?
Any final first bosses?
Anything we would like to cover before we end this?
Well, I would like to talk about the muffalata sandwich, but that is off topic.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Us go off topic?
Yeah.
How?
No, that's grossly off topic.
Us go grossly off topic?
It's a hard swing to go from Greece to olive sandwiches.
Yeah, it's super hard to go from Greece to
Greece.
Which Greece?
I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing
Jay's singing. It is about time for us to roll into the station.
It's electrifying.
we're
Better
in-
shape up. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Jody's
'cause I
on it
need a
now.
man.
We're ending this.
All right, we're
We're
ending
Jody
it.
pointed at me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Jody, tell the lovely people about one of our friends.
No,
Jody, do it anyway.
no,
Okay, Jody.
no.
Okay.
You do
Our
it.
wedding present to you is
You
you,
do
doing all.
That's Ethan. If you want me to do one, I can do one.
Okay, the bit's over. It's fine. Virology. I'm never gonna record. I'm kidding.
Hey, if you
No,
if you do
boomer,
that,
that's boomer box. You asshole.
if you do that, that's one less thing that we have to plug.
That's true. That's
so
true.
yeah, cut the cord. Sure,
No, I'm still recording.
Apathy.
smother that baby. We don't care.
But make sure it's not in the womb.
Oh God. Anyway, that's a show I record maybe twice a year now.
That line will be
Our
censored.
the biannual show Virology.
The biannual virology episode.
Brady, go up next.
Whiskey and wrestling. They talk about whiskey and wrestling. It's in the It's one of our closest friends.
Oh, thank you for that,
You're
Jay.
already halfway done.
Yeah, you're halfway done. Michael Hill, Jason Holder. What Jay said.
Okay, Jay, go ahead. Whisper the next friend.
Ethan Skinner is Dick Stone Dick. Having to go through multiple the movies that involve horror. It's Ethan Skinner as Dick Stone Dick in A Night of a Tale of Bride of the Invisible Man.
Nice to know I'm considered a friend.
Well, that
but thank
concludes
you.
our ASMR.
Join us next time for a mukbang.
Jesus.
I'm not eating that much calamari.
The completed podcast.
Joke's on you. Ethan's lost all that weight, and he's been doing those for years.
Are we literally referencing Nikocado Avocado? Oh my
If
god!
is that his name?
That's his name, yeah.
I just know it tangentially.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. Because God, why would you watch
He
that?
filmed 2 years worth of mukbangs,
Yeah.
and then he showed up, and he was like 100 pounds.
Right.
That's a troll right there.
Yeah.
What's not a troll is the completed podcast. Magic the Gathering. Just listen
Is
to
it?
them.
I don't know. I've never listened to it.
Me neither, and I
completed
play the game.
The completed podcast. We've never listened to it. That's what a sell. What
I'm
an
just to
absolute
the point
sell.
where I would get what they're talking about, kind of.
Check them out. They're good.
Christopher Vega, Brandon Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith talking about news and views in the worlds of competitive Magic the Gathering.
I'm kidding. I've listened to the show before.
Brady isn't.
No, Brady's
I don't
definitely.
listen to this show. What the fuck are you talking about?
Jay, plug the final friends.
Bearded Drums, Stephen Nelson II and Jarrett Taylor take you through drums from gears to gigs, including live performances recorded and presented on YouTube by Mr. Stephen Nelson. And check them out on all major podcasting avenues.
That's it. That is it, gentlemen. We have completed this episode.
No, we haven't. You're forgetting one small factor.
One small factor.
Yeah, in our plugs.
By all means, explain.
The God Emperor.
Do you know McNarb Gaming?
Who provided
Have you
us
heard of McNarb Gaming?
Who
where
provided
you
us this
purchase
studio?
your Magic the
You
Gathering
heard
card?
about this McNarb Gaming?
Who runs this McNarb Gaming?
I don't know. You tell me.
I asked you first.
Yeah, but I
Our
asked you
wedding
again.
gift to you is you doing this plug.
We're going back to that. She's laughing and she's asleep.
Full circle.
She's trying to pretend she's asleep. She's been hearing every single thing we said.
McNarb Gaming, they have everything you could.
Cameron McGoddamn Spanier.
Nobody bought foundations. Look forward to Spider-Man in the coming up year.
Spider-Man 2025. Let's go.
Come in and help Cameron find his missing cards.
Yes.
He's missing cards.
Yeah.
Someone steal some shit? Got whooped
He
some ass?
doesn't
He
know.
mis- he-
Oh
has
God,
no-
that's the
he has
worst.
no idea.
He's got to watch a week's worth of footage.
Cameron McGoddamn Spanier.
Come in and help Cameron
Help.
watch footage.
Help the God Emperor of gaming.
Do you have surveillance experience? Are you able to watch hours of video about nothing?
Do you not have shit to do?
Come down to McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi, where you can pick up puzzles and shit and then review coverage.
All of our tires.
I don't
have
think
been
our plugs are helping.
No,
No,
probably not.
They're not.
All of our tires have been slashed at this point. We are
We've
skidding.
slashed them ourselves.
Yeah. I noticed that knife wound anyway.
Hey, there's a fascinating horror about a bus crash. I don't. Probably.
What was the gag there?
There wasn't a gag.
Statistically, there is one.
I'm pulling the plug.
On the life support system.
Our gift for you is shit falling apart.
This is Travelers on the Omnibus.
Why won't you accept our gift?
I've been Ethan Skinner.
Love us! I'm James McCarthy, unfortunately.
We're leaving.
Love
now.
us!
We're leaving. Jay, hit the button.
No,
Hit
don't
the
do
button
it.
now. Okay.
We can keep
music's
going.
playing.
Oh, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah,
He didn't tell you to hit the right button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, there's
Dimby down bow.
an order of operations. We have to hit this
Doobie-doo.
button before we have to hit the next button.
That's true.
Oh,
That's
man.
true.
No.
Well,
Hey,
it's nice that the show didn't fall apart to the very end.
Now,
Oh,
now.
God.
So
Our gift for you was this not falling apart until the very end.
I've been studying time loops.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. On that
Hey
note,
Jay, you know what's the worst part about being stuck in a time loop?
I don't know what.
Hey Jay, you know what's the worst part about being stuck in a time loop?
I don't know what.
Hey Jay, do you know what's the worst part about being stuck in a time loop?
I don't know what.
Hey Jay, you know what's the worst part about being stuck in a time loop?
I don't know what.
oh God.
Hey Jay, you know what's the worst part about being stuck in a time loop?
I don't know what.
Hey Jay, do you know what's the worst part about